morning. Welcome to the 5th annual State of the Market with Hillsborough County property appraiser Bob Henriquez.
People say Hillsborough County is changing. For Bob Henriquez, the fundamentals are the same. Hard work, community, service. Long before he became a Hillsborough County property appraiser, families knew him simply as Coach. A mentor. A leader. Someone who believes success comes from teamwork and discipline. That work ethic took him from the Tampa Catholic High School football trenches to Princeton and back to the Hillsborough Planning Commission, the Florida Legislature, the Department of Children and Families. And now, Bob has built the most fiscally responsible property appraiser's office in Florida, decreasing the budget 5 times and reducing staff by 18%, all while providing more efficient processes, proving government can do more with less, even in one of the fastest growing places in the country. Today, Bob oversees the fair and accurate valuation of 500,000 properties, working directly with homeowners, businesses, and local services. And through his annual State of the Market, brings those insights directly to the public. In a county with tremendous growth and change, his office remains focused on accountability, fairness, and transparency for every property owner. Because beyond the numbers and the bureaucracy, Bob Henriquez has never lost sight of coaching, mentoring, and leading, no matter what position he holds.
All right, everyone, welcome Bob Henriquez.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Wow, I don't even, I'm so humbled. First of all, you know, when you see that video, it reminds me how blessed I've been to be able to give back to this community, and I appreciate each and every one of you that's here, and most importantly, my staff and all the folks that are involved in putting this on each year. This is our 5th annual State of the Market. It's grown into something very, very special. It's sort of unique. And you know, not everyone gets free café con leche and pastelitos so I think that's actually what draws people here. But I want to thank again everyone that's involved that puts this on. You know, this literally started. You know, Julia Silva will be on a panel later. Might have been drinks. Once upon a time, we just started talking about an idea that we had, and it's grown from there. And I thank you so much. First and foremost, before we get started, I want to introduce my daughter. Henriquez, who will come and greet us by singing our national anthem. Elin? I have her phone for once.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
How about that? Thank you, Josh. So, wow. No, Elin, stay. Elin, come back. Come back. All of that, and last night she sang karaoke all night at her sweet 16th birthday party. So now the tradition is that we get a chance to sing happy birthday to her. So here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Elin. Whatever your name is, happy birthday to you. Wow. I had to convince her not to put a tip jar up here. She turned 16 and thought she became a professional, so. All right, I gotta compose myself now. All right. Every year, this is our 5th annual, as I said before, and every year we've been blessed to have our wonderful mayor here to give us a greeting. She just came back from Sicily, and so she didn't indulge in any of the pastelitos out there, but I think she indulged enough over there. So I am so proud and honored to have her here today. She's just a good friend and a great mayor, and I'm just honored to have her here, as well as all the other dignitaries that I'll introduce in a bit. But Mayor Jane Castor. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right, you will not be hearing any singing from me, which is a good thing. People go, everybody can sing. I'm like, no, I can't. So I was on my Peloton one day, and I said, well, let me see. I had my earbuds in, so I actually sang along and recorded it, and it was worse than I actually thought I was, so can't get any worse. But this, I'm so excited to be a part of the State of the Market, and to see how it has grown each and every year. And unfortunately, this is going to be my last one, so I get to talk about how great the market is. Actually, that's the professional's job. But I will talk about the state of our city and our region and a couple important topics, but I will make them very, very brief. We are doing incredibly well. I just had someone send another list of the greatest cities in the United States, the top 50, and I think we're number 11 or 12 in that. Should be number 1, I know, but they have to put a couple of those big cities in there to make everybody happy. We have the red hot stock market. It's up, it's down every day, and I'm sure there's going to be a correction at some point in that. But as that occurs, I think that we are situated to be able to ride out anything that comes our way a lot better than other cities around the nation. I am a part of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I'm actually on the board, and I talk to other mayors at these different events, and they're all talking about changing office space into living space and all of the things that they're doing to try to just keep people in their communities. And I'm usually very silent in all of that because we are doing so well, building Class A office space, a couple of towers going in down here in Ybor City. Everything that's happening, there's only, I believe, 1 or 2 lots left in Channelside, downtown, north downtown, West Tampa. We just had the topping off of the first residential unit in Rome Yard, and then all of that along the river, the West River Walk. I don't know if anybody's been down to the river lately, but that is going to be finished, the majority of it, by the time I'm out of office next May, and that's exciting too. That's going to be 12-mile loop through our city, and then it's going to connect to Bayshore, and it's going to connect us down into Ybor and East Tampa as well. So exciting things going on in our city. The Rays Stadium, that is something that we are working very, very, very hard to ensure that we don't lose a major league sporting franchise from our city. So things are looking very good for us, and it is a very exciting time. We also benefit from an incredibly strong and diverse economic portfolio. If you look at our port, largest in the state, and just growing day by day. And then our airport, some say the best in the nation, I say best in the world, without a doubt. And that's exciting too. If you've been to the airport, you see Airside D coming out of the ground, which is going to be our international and Delta hub. So that's exciting as well. Looking at, which I'm sure you're going to hear from Jennifer, all of the innovation that we're doing in health sciences, and just an exciting time for our community. And it's so exciting to be the mayor as well, to be able to hear all of these accolades from different companies that are moving here, people moving their families here. I'll tell you a funny story if you haven't heard it. I was downtown one day and this man and woman with a young girl walking behind them, and they're like, "Hey, are you the mayor?" I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I should run. And this woman comes up and she goes, "Yeah," she goes, "we're taking our daughter on college tours around the nation." She goes, "We just went on a tour of University of Tampa." She goes, "Frankly, we don't care if she goes there or not, but we're moving to this city." She said, "This is the best city we've ever been in." She said, "It is so friendly and welcoming and clean and safe." And by then I'm like hugging her like, "You're my new best friend." But, to hear comments like that about your hometown really does warm my heart. So a couple of things that I just want to talk about very quickly. AI, as we all know, is coming at us fast and furiously, and I'm sure you'll hear about that as well. People who don't like change better get on the sidewalk, because change is coming, as I said, fast and furious. And we're looking at two areas with the city: permitting and our procurement for the AI solutions. And I know a lot of developers, a lot of individuals rebuilding after the hurricanes, that you think the permitting process is slow. We have made a great deal of improvements, but we've also issued close to 25,000 permits last year. So that's an incredible number of permits. And so we're trying with the review process and get it quicker and much more consistent. I know that's one of the issues there as well. Also, the only two areas that we are lacking in are homes, having enough of a supply at every level. We have built since 2019 over 20,000 homes at the city at all levels. We're over 8,000 affordable units and continuing to plan those throughout the city too. And then transportation. I talk to our transportation people. I go, "Your mascot isn't a snail; it's a dead snail." I go, "Let's get this stuff moving." But the all for transportation penny sales tax was really a blow for us, but we're continuing to move on. We have a regional infrastructure accelerator federal program that we're involved in, and you're going to see those transit solutions that are going to come quickly by transportation standards. So we'll get that up and moving very quickly as well. Now, lastly, and I know there's going to be talk about that, but I just very quickly want to talk about this idea of the property tax that's going on the ballot. Let me assure you that if that property tax reduction is voted in, that the fees will come from some other place. You're going to be paying assessments for everything. Just to put it in perspective, the funding that we bring in, that we use for our general fund and property tax, is not enough to pay for police and fire. I'll let that sink in for a second. We have 200 parks in the city. There will be nothing to maintain those parks, not to mention our roads and everything else that we use them for. We had Save Our Homes in 1996. Anybody that's been in their home for more than a couple years does not pay the full value of your home and property taxes. So think about that. We are one of, if not the lowest tax state in the United States. So it is a great location to live, great location to have a business, great location to raise a family. And I think we're all very fortunate to be here. And so I hope today is a very positive message to the state of the market. But trust me, we are in a good place here in Tampa Bay. So thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Property tax, I hadn't heard anything about that. Let's give our mayor, and she's in her last year, and we love her so much. Her service is remarkable. Police chief, years and years. And just like that, she was gone. She's a busy lady, so we appreciate her being here, certainly. I have a list, hopefully, of folks that have joined us. If I miss any, some will come out of the dark, and I'll make sure that I recognize you. City of Tampa Councilwoman Naya Young is supposed to be here. Go ahead. It wouldn't be the same without City of Tampa Councilman Charlie Miranda. Charlie, I was disappointed you weren't wearing your black today, but that's okay. Hillsborough County Clerk of Circuit Court Victor Christ is supposed to be here. I didn't see him, but my sister in crime, Hillsborough County Tax Collector Nancy Milan. My good friend, and we're overdue for some Cuban food in West Tampa, Mayor of Temple Terrace, Andy Ross. Temple Terrace Council Member Eric Kravitz. Florida House of Representatives Karen Gonzalez Pittman. I didn't see her, but I think she's here. My longtime friend, Florida House of Representatives Susan Valdez. I don't know did you leave any lipstick on me? Because you had that red lipstick. I don't want to get in trouble when I get home. So, we have representatives from State Attorney Susie Lopez here today, Congresswoman Kathy Castor, Commissioner Christine Miller, and Commissioner Josh Wastel. And we also have our fine Supervisor of Elections, Craig Latimer, here as well. Did I miss any dignitaries, or just anybody who just wants to be introduced? All right, so if we could go ahead and gather our first panel. Our first panel today is named Transformational Districts. So joining us for our first panel is John Nertney from Allied Alliant Partners, Tyler Hudson, real estate attorney from Gardner Brewer Hudson, Lucas DiNardo, VP of Construction for Development for Bromley, and we also have Jennifer Crabtree, who's the president of the Tampa Medical and Research District, TGH, where I was born. Thank you. I was much smaller then, so was I. Senator Jeff. This is funny. I was actually, they named me the peanut in the hospital. I was like 5 pounds, and 295 pounds ago. And I'm really thrilled to have Senator Jeff Brandes here as the chairman and founder of the Florida Policy Project with us as well. All right, well, let's get right down to it. And the first question, and the way this will kind of work, guys, is it kind of takes a free form after we kind of ask some of these questions. So, feel free to jump in, even if the question's not directly related to you. And then at some point, hopefully we have time for questions from the audience. There's a QR code at that time. You guys can send the questions, and then hopefully we'll get to a couple of those. We filter them because last year we got things like, why is it so cold in here? Which the answer would have been because the year before it was too hot in here. So let's go ahead and get started. So this really is for each of you, and you can take a minute or so to respond. So we know that Tampa's seen more large-scale district developments over the last decade, and the mayor just left. She was fond of saying in her stump speech back when she ran the first time that Tampa would change more in the next 10 years than it has in her lifetime, and it certainly, we've seen that happen. Probably more than any other mid-sized city in America. So what really is driving that? What is the momentum? Is the momentum still there? Are we sort of I'm talking about the baseball metaphor, the early innings, or are we bringing in our reliever? I don't have any idea. But just kind of talk about where we are now versus where we were just a few years ago in our 5th annual. We've seen sort of the changes over the course of time. So, we can start with John and we'll work our way down.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Coach, I just wondered do you give singing lessons as well, or did that come naturally?
That's my brother. My
another
brother's
way. Okay.
He's the professional musician. We don't have any problems with the whatever the hantavirus, because if I sing, the rats run out of the house, so we're good.
Well, thank you for having us. My involvement here, thank you to Sally D for inviting me to participate. My involvement here is largely due to our involvement with the development around Mosey. And as we've worked through with the county as our partner, they're the landowner, for over a year now, we're working through various aspects of it. And to address the question from my standpoint, every time I talk about our progress or our work in that, and we can get into some of that more as we go along, I am told about this development and that development and this development and that development. And I have to tip my hat a little bit to Lucas and the Bromley Company, because oftentimes they're referred to as another Midtown. So they've kind of created a Kleenex brand, if you will, for themselves, which has been great. But it helps define what people are looking for, which is these mixed-use live, work, play areas. So, I mean, it's a very generic answer, but I hear about, I don't know, dozens of them, and these guys are involved in a bunch of them as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Coach. I think it's Tampa's always been built upon sort of an endless demand by people who want to move here, right? I mean, look at the building we're in. We've always welcomed newcomers for a century. I think we still have a lot of good tailwinds. I think people want to move here. I think the practices of some other cities and states to the northeast are always going to be a big driver. I think we'll get Lucas to move down here eventually from New York. But I think there are some flashing warning signs. I think we've had a lot of growth and our infrastructure hasn't kept up. And I think talking about insurance, which I know Jeff will talk about, I do think there are some things that we need to get ahead of pretty quickly, and that's going to be investment. It's going to be a mindset change in order to keep that demand strong. Because I think this looks like a very different place if it becomes far too unaffordable to live here. And the good news is I think there's a lot of supply in the market now. I don't think the pig is all the way through the python on that, but I think in typical Tampa fashion, we might stop building for a while, and then we're gonna have a rent crisis, we're gonna boom again. So I think if we can try to get some policies in place now while things are a little quieter to smooth things out for the next round of people to come, that's gonna make it easier. But this is still a great place. I mean, it was in 1985, the year I was born. Tampa declared itself America's next great city, which is kind of classic Tampa. We're going to declare it first. I don't think we've done all the hard work necessarily to keep that, but I think we can do it. A lot of other cities can't. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, we've had lots of slogans.
Lots. That's my favorite.
I remember going to a Bucks game. It was supposed to be the New Day in Tampa Bay, and I thought somebody said Nude Day in Tampa Bay, but it never happened. So, Lucas, go ahead.
First time up here. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me. And yeah, Tyler knows I'm from New York. I come down here often, and I really appreciate the community down here. And everybody is just super friendly and really great to do business with. Generally, I think what I love about doing real estate development in Tampa is how open-minded it can be to different concepts, and different neighborhoods have really distinct characteristics, and I'm still getting a feel for different parts of town and what that might bring. But yeah, I mean, Tampa's growth, I read about it, I speak about it. I mean, companies are relocating here, they're planting their flags. Families are moving down here, as the mayor alluded to previously, and folks are making money. People want to be down here. The mayor spoke about tax policy down here. I come from New York, one of the highest tax states in the union. So constantly riffing with my wife and family about moving down here and how much of an increase of quality of life we would have. So I think Bromley, myself personally, the rest of the firm as well, obviously, we're just super bullish on the Tampa Bay area, and we're going to try to keep kind of building on that momentum. So, yeah.
Well, we're going to keep trying to beat your Yankees. All right.
How about the Knicks?
How about the Knicks? Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for having me. I'm a little bit of a wild card, I think, on this panel, given that I'm not real estate development. I'm actually a healthcare marketing communications person by background, but I think that's been a really interesting position for me as I'm looking at the market and what we bring to the table, because I was in a meeting actually earlier this week, and somebody said the phrase facts over feelings, which I've kind of tried to embrace more and more. But yes, Tampa is a great place to live. I'm raising my kids here. I moved here from out of market, been here for 7 years, love it. It's incredible, you see that. But if you actually look at the data, you're seeing that we're third in domestic immigration compared to other cities, just third to Phoenix and Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we are seeing the domestic immigration. We're seeing the talent attraction rankings. So you see it in the numbers. I mean, we all love to, it feels good to be in Tampa. We got the sun, the beach, you know, the sporting teams. But when you actually look at the data, you are seeing that momentum, and that's just going to continue to grow.
Jeff, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to play the role of Cassandra today. Cassandra was a Greek goddess who was gifted to, or she was blessed to have the gift of foresight, but then cursed that nobody would believe her. And so I hope that that's not the exact role that I play today, but let me tell you kind of what I see going on in the Florida real estate market. I think the wealthy are doing great. I think I mean, if you look at home sales among the top 5%, those are moving like hotcakes. The middle is getting squeezed, and the bottom is basically on the endangered species list, maybe about to go extinct. And you can see this across Florida and across markets. If you look at what's going on in the development world, look, you've got high-end homes are doing fine. Middle is still, you know, interest rates have doubled in the last 3 years. The average home in Florida now is about $420,000. The average first-time home buyer is 40 years old. And this is the first time we've seen that. If you just went back a decade, it was like 28, 29. So there are some really interesting tells going on in this marketplace. The other thing I'm worried about is last year we reached peak 18. Looking out forward, we will not see as many 18-year-olds as we saw last year going forward as far as the eye can see. The thing that scares me the most and keeps me up at night is this. Who is going to buy all these baby boomer homes? If you think of the baby boomers as this kind of thing going through the python, right? Like this whatever it ate going through the python, at the end of the day, there's nothing to follow that's nearly as big. And so we have this huge boom that took place in the last few years. We have people that are ultimately going to, you know, live in their homes for 15, 20 years. They bought when they were 60, but they're gonna live there till they're 75 or 80, and they're gonna move in with their family. They're going to, you know, to move into an assisted living, or they're gonna move into their, you know, mansion in the sky. But those are our options here. And there is nothing behind that we've seen. Domestic migration is down 93% in Florida. The thing that's saving us really is international migration in many ways. And we're not reaching our birth rate. So we need 2.1 children per woman to maintain our growth rate. We have currently 1.6. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge nationwide, and it's frankly a challenge worldwide amongst the educated countries. Africa, obviously different story. They're like 4 or 5 versus us at 1.6. Russia's at 1.2. Right? So you have these dying countries, and what has saved Florida and frankly the United States was in migration, and in some migration, and that has slowed dramatically. And so we have these really interesting things going on in this marketplace that I think reverberate through a variety of these different markets, and I hope that's what we're going to talk about today. So thanks.
Actually, I'm going to stay. Very good. Thank you. You know, I've seen a lot in my life. I never thought I'd see Senator Brandes describe himself as a Greek goddess, but we're going to stay with you because of that. By the way, I did my part. I had 3, so I'm good. So the rest of you,
keep it up.
Get busy. All right, Jeff, I'm going to stay with you, and we know that for the last few years, and you've been on the forefront of this issue, but we know that the elephant literally in the room is insurance. And so for somebody that's living in Hillsborough County or in the Tampa area today, what's the landscape? I know that there's been, you know, as a result of the special session, some of the things the legislature's done, there's been some correction in the market, but just that, and that may lead you into, and I'm going to put you on the spot that way, I don't have to do it because I don't want to be removed from office, of talking a little bit about what the mayor alluded to in terms of, and you've done a great job of putting some talking points and some things for people to think about going forward.
A few things on Twitter.
Yeah, a few things on Twitter. I kind of stalk you, so go ahead.
So let's talk about both home and auto real quick. But you've seen pretty amazing improvements in both of those markets. The homeowners market, the simple truth about the homeowners market is, as much as the insurance companies control what's going on in the pricing of homeowners product, for the most part, it's controlled out of Bermuda and London when we buy reinsurance. 40 cents of every dollar that you pay in premium, the companies that you pay it to just ship that offshore to buy reinsurance, which is insurance for insurance companies. It's why you can have companies with $35 or $40 million of reserves writing $200, $300, $400 million worth of assets across the state of Florida, because they buy reinsurance. And to do that, they pay a lot in that premium that they're buying. And the simple truth is that market is getting better. I was recently in Bermuda and London a few weeks ago, and the major question they ask are the reforms of 2022 going to hold? And my answer to them was yes, they're going to hold, because it's like concrete that is now cured, right? This is now in the bloodstream of the system. The radical thing Florida did in 2022 was join 49 other states and how they deal with litigation. Florida was absolutely the outlier. We in 2021 were 8% of the total of all claims filed in the country, all homeowners claims filed in the country, 8%. We were 80% of the litigation. You cannot be the most hurricane-prone state and the most litigious state and expect homeowners rates to come down. Like that, just those things can't coexist in the same marketplace. And so Florida did the thing that it had to do. It wasn't like the legislature was ready, really wanted to do it. They were perfectly fine taking, the trial bar would back up the Brinks truck to the Florida Capitol and say, take what you want. We ask you one thing, do nothing. Do nothing. Easiest thing for legislators to do, nothing. And so, but we knew it was a problem. They let it continue to be a problem until they got to the point where it was about to cause catastrophic harm to the entire real estate market of the state of Florida, because rates were going up at 30, 40% at a clip. It was unaffordable. You couldn't even get it in most markets. Companies were shutting down. You lost 12 companies in a handful of years. And then they passed a law, and then the sea changed. The sea changed. Citizens at one point in 2021 had 1.4 million policies, represented $500 billion of risk on their books, and had $10 billion in cash. Right? So that's suboptimal, right? That's how we would say it, right? And so ultimately the market has changed incredibly fast. So we've gone from 1.4 million policies. Citizens yesterday had 250,000 policies. So it has lost roughly 1.2 million policies in the course of a year, in the course of 2 or 3 years. And that has led to the start of many companies starting up. You've seen major carriers launching new carriers, and you've seen some new organic capital coming into the marketplace, incredibly positive on the insurance front. And rates are coming down. Reinsurance rates, the thing we talked about from Bermuda and London, are off 15 to 20%. So if that's half your bill, you should be seeing some 15 to 20%, you should be seeing 10 to 15% reductions in insurance rates coming in this year and in the next few years. So that's what's going on in the home space, in the property space. In the auto space, it's a different story. In the auto space, 1/3 of Floridians drive without insurance. So 20% roughly drive without insurance. 23% drive with just the minimum insurance. So the game of Florida roulette is every time you get in your car, you have about a 50-50 shot of running into somebody without insurance or is radically underinsured. And it's largely because Florida has not changed its insurance law since 1972. We have required $10,000 worth of PIP. Yep, see? Has not changed
Big
it since
insurance is
1972.
coming for you.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
So everybody's getting in these checks back. You're starting to see the news about the checks coming back, right? And it's largely because we haven't adjusted the law. So the legislature knows we're underinsured. The governor knows we're underinsured. But they also know that if they change the insurance law, for those people that can least afford it, they will pay more. And so they've been very hesitant to do that. So they allow us to drive. They allow a huge portion of the population to drive underinsured.
Wow, there are a lot of people here. So you ducked but we'll get back to the property tax thing. Yeah, but that's, yeah. So Jennifer, go ahead and talk to us a little bit about the Tampa Medical Research District. What that represents in terms of transformation. I think a lot of people, hey, there we go.
Timing.
I've seen the light. because that's really something that, people talk a lot about development downtown and Water Street and what have you, but this is something that's really a incredible opportunity for the city of Tampa. So take it away.
Sure. So the Tampa Medical and Research District has really been something that we've been conceptualizing for the past 5, 6, 7 years at TGH. So my president and CEO, John Corris, his background, he's coming from Boston, and for those of you that are familiar with the Boston ecosystem, it's heavily healthcare life sciences. They have the longest standing, over 100-year-old health innovation district in the city. So he came from that background. When he came to TGH, who's one of the largest private employers in the city, and that was about 9 years ago, he looked across the market and really, I think he identified an opportunity for us to be known for something outside of just sunshine and pirates and, the things that people love to kind of classify Tampa as. So we started to kind of conceptualize what a health innovation district could be here in the city, and just quietly started to build out over a handful of years, focusing specifically on TGH and USF assets. What could we build in the city? Where could we, over time, pull together a density of healthcare services and buildings and facilities that would, at some point, be akin to a Longwood Collective in Boston, or maybe even what you see in Texas and Houston at the Texas Medical Center. Fast forward this past year, we kind of came to a tipping point and realized that it needed to be more than just TGH and USF if we're going to have this come to be a reality. So he put me in the role to be that convener of organizations. What we're aiming to do is really bring together healthcare, clinical care, research, academics, but also pulling in these other parallel industries like AI and defense health and dual use innovation, things that Tampa can be known for as a differentiator, into one coordinated health innovation district, so that it's not just us building assets throughout the city, but how can we be more coordinated with those efforts so that it's no longer a city where people want to come and retire to, raise their families, yes, of course, but where businesses want to come and actually build. Where do they want to plant a flag, and where can they see moving their companies here? So my job coming into this role as president is to really pull together the assets in a more coordinated way and to help tell that story of what we have going on here across the healthcare and life sciences industry.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So, Lucas, you still there?
I'm still here.
All right. So I know that the next phase of Midtown is to add a residential component.
It is, yeah, it is.
So talk to us a little bit about what that means. What drove that decision to add that residential component to Midtown?
Sure.
As long as you keep Colony Pizza there.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
Good.
It performs really well. I happen to, frequent there often when I'm in town. But yeah, we're calling it the South Tower, Midtown South. And it's the final development parcel of Midtown Tampa. So we really view it as, a true capstone to that project. It's going to be, what we're calling it as a best-in-class luxury offering. It's going to be highly amenitized, and we really get the benefit of plugging into the existing Midtown ecosystem, right? So it kind of slots into the broader Midtown growth story where, you had first-gen office, first-gen retail. Now you have second-gen office in Midtown East, which I should say is now fully leased, which we're thrilled about, with an excellent roster of tenants. So you kind of had this ascension of growth and this maturity of the market, and you'll see some other some additional retail tenants that are a little bit more curated, and we're really excited about. So you'll see some news on that. But so Midtown South kind of slots into that really well. There's an existing apartment product there. It's about 350 or so, 390 units, excuse me, and it's done really great. It's I think it was the highest exit on a per unit basis in the Tampa Bay area. So it was a real success story for Bromley and our partners on that deal. So Midtown South, kind of like I said, represents like the final chapter of Midtown, and you think about all these ways to market these deals and how you're going to tell the story. And like I said, it's Midtown in itself is a true amenity, and I know I keep saying I'm a New Yorker, yaddy yaddy, whatever, but Midtown, you get to walk, which is really nice. You get there's Whole Foods or Sephora, so it's this real kind of downtown district vibe, which I think residents will really take to. So yeah, we're excited. We got a great design team there, and we're working fast and furious on it. So yeah,
Wonderful.
hopefully you guys come visit.
Unfortunately, Sephora, my kids.
You don't go to Sephora? I wait in the car too for that one. Typically, yeah.
I'm very much in touch with I'm not a Greek goddess, but I go to Sephora.
That's right.
I need to find out how you become a Greek goddess. I dated a Greek goddess once. She was a professional wrestler. That's a whole other story. So, I digress. So Tyler, quickly, bail me out. So this is a great question. As somebody who, as a real estate attorney, is has to deal with trying to get entitlements for various different projects and those kinds of things. This question, I think, is one that I was looking forward to having you respond to. So what if there was one thing, a policy change, infrastructure investment, a shift in the public mindset, you may have spoken to it a little bit in the first question, that could help accelerate or help transform Tampa over the next few years, the next couple of years, what would that thing be if you had the crystal ball and could?
Do I get to pick one?
Well,
I've got a few.
Well,
I think
we've got some time. So
yeah, we got some time. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I kind of foreshadowed this in the first answer. I do think it is about a mindset. I think right now, Tampa, a lot of neighborhoods in Tampa, a lot of people in the entire region have a little bit of a siege mentality, a sort of a bunker mentality that growth is this thing that is happening to us, and that we've accommodated all these new people, an entire generation of new people and generations to come on prior generations' infrastructure, on prior generations' regulations. I mean, that's where I think there are some green shoots of hope when you see what Jeff talked to you about insurance, that you had a market failure, a regulatory response, and so far it's kind of working. Tallahassee's done some things with that on the housing front, things like the Live Local Act. But more broadly, there is a huge unaddressed market for people who want to live in different types of housing. Not everyone wants to live in high-rise towers. Not everyone wants to live in a single-family home, like the ones that the pig of the boomer supply is going to have to go through the python on. We need more diversity of housing options. The problem is that we subject the production of housing, we really subject the production of new buildings to a rationing process that goes through, sometimes a very political, sometimes very bruising public process. And when you see folks come out and oppose development, I mean, I'm an evil real estate developer lawyer, right? So the assumption is, this is when I talk about, decry NIMBYism and things like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised you weren't wearing your black hat.
Yeah, that's right. I got to borrow Charlie's. But that is sort of a rational response, right? When you see your neighborhood and you see these people moving in, how do you connect that to a story about making this region a better place for the people that are going to come? We used to have, I think, a little bit more of a mindset about that. I mean, this building was built by people who didn't think that they were the last generation to live here and they were going to close the door. They built it for people who were going to come. That was, a very long time ago, generations ago. I think we have to figure out how to build some of that mindset back. I mean, with the base tax the tax base compression you're going to see if the amendment passes in November, it's going to be on commercial property to fund those gaps. I mean, the mayor alluded to the assessments. I mean, everyone cut the cord, right, because it was going to be cheaper, and now you have 19 streaming services. That's what's going to happen to your tax bill. You're just going to get assessed to death. And so more of the onus on delivering the infrastructure that we need to accommodate these folks are going to come from commercial developments. And so, look, would I love to have a time machine and you get all for transportation back? Yeah, that's one thing. Do you tweak the zoning code? They're already doing that. I think you wrap a lot of that into this mindset of trying to see the growth we're having as the opportunity, because the guy that's going to live in the apartment that's going up around the corner from you that you might not like, that guy might start the company that gets your kid to move back here from Chicago so you grow up next to your grandkids. That's not certain to happen, but it's not impossible either. And I think we need to think a lot more about how we build that better future and that we actually can benefit in the meantime too. Because I think if we just sort of have the mentality of, shut it down, which might be, rationally defensible in certain cases, you don't end up preserving anything. You just end up decaying more slowly. And I don't think any of us want that.
Before I move on, and I'm very interested in this, and have, fifth generation, and so I guess how do we accomplish that? And I broached the subject with former Mayor Buckhorn recently when we were talking. How do you keep the things that brought you guys here, that brings you down from New York, the spirit? I mean, look at this building, look at the, so that this is not just a museum piece, that thing that makes us special, that we don't lose that in the translation. And I think that's part of the pushback that we see from long-term residents is, we love Midtown, we love Water Street, but we stand there and we go, we're not in Tampa anymore. So how do you keep that? Because it's not about the buildings, and it's a certain spirit, a welcoming spirit you can be here, whether you unloaded your moving van 5 days ago or been here 5 generations. This is there's a special spirit. How do we kind of thread that needle to what you're speaking of, and so that people feel as though, okay, we have to develop, we have to continue to grow, but how does tradition meet tomorrow? And I guess that's the term that I'm trying to think.
That's a beautifully phrased way to put it.
It's sort of
I think you start with acknowledging
campaign thing.
It's hard. I mean, I think this is not an easy problem. If it was, it would have been solved a long time ago. I think certainly in a neighborhood like this, like Ybor, and I think you're seeing this with Gasworks, where it is possible to harmonize, new development density while preserving some of that I wouldn't even say historic character. That sounds cheap. Like the integrity. Like how do you preserve the integrity of a district? I think in places like South Tampa, where new density is really challenging, you really have to look at corridors. But what are corridors? That's just a planner term for roads. What are the roads like in South Tampa? Not great, Bob. And so that's where I think conversations about you have to pair this with a conversation about infrastructure. I think we're probably going to go there a little bit on this panel, and maybe others to come. But I think people feel new development as something that harms them very specifically in the immediate term, and the benefits of that don't really come until later. They're diffuse, they're delayed. And so I think it's really a conversation among really elected officials of what does Tampa want to be? Because if we just want to slow it down and stop, I guess that's a defensible position in some circles. Jen wouldn't agree with that, because there are crazy new businesses. What Jen's the people that TMRD are bringing to Tampa. It's like Star Wars bar scene, like in a good way. These are people who are at the absolute top of their market in some of the most exciting markets in the world who want to come here. We've got to figure out a way to accommodate them. And I think that starts with telling a better story about how we can all benefit from that growth and how it can pay to improve your road. That office building around the street where you're concerned about the people might park on my street if they're busy. Okay, but that's how you get your potholes fixed. We need to keep making that connection, I think, so that folks don't feel like it's just either we're going to preserve and stay as is or hyper growth. That's a false choice, and I think we need to start to talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I think we have to find something between those high-end businesses and the tattoo shops and the cannabis stores, because
that's right. And between the wish and the thing, the world lies waiting. There's a lot you can do in the middle there. Yeah.
All right, John. So you've been involved with the Mosey redevelopment. It's one of the most watched transformations in the region. Where does the project stand today? What's your vision for what it becomes? And what are the biggest challenges and opportunities that still lie ahead as you move that concept to reality?
Thank you, Bob. I'm just sitting here realizing I need to buy a new sport coat because I have the same one on. Is that what it was? Yeah, that actually was next door at the El Pasaje building. So
this one's new. It's 54 long, but I don't know.
We became involved with Alliant, with our partners, Brookfield Coulter, became involved in the process over a year ago with the county who owns the property. And they have a vision. The county staff and leadership have a vision. And by the way, if they're not here today, it's because they're busy at their BOCC meeting. And I'll tell you what they're doing. One of the things they're doing there of creating something special. And again, we referred many times. They said like Midtown. So it's a mixed-use development is what's craved. And there's a lot of challenges between that vision and reality. Right now, as to where we are, we're in between steps 1 and 2 of the 3-step process of getting to permitting, if you will. Step 1 was a land use change, so what you can build. Step 2 is we're about to go through a rezoning, how much you can build, and then step 3 will be where you can build it and exactly, the specifics of getting into the details of infrastructure. And I call it the 3 T's: traffic, trees, and water treatment. I made up that last one. So, trash. So we're working through, the county staff has been great to work with. There's a lot of challenges that we're still envisioning. What the county BOCC is doing maybe right at this minute is hearing a report from staff and asking them to recommend approving $70 million of funding for a indoor field house. I'm sure you've read about it. That will be an anchor to the project, 100 and maybe 200,000 square feet all told, to open in mid-2028. Mosey itself has gone on a great transformation over the last 2 to 3 years. I met the CEO, John Smith, through my friend Andy Ross. I live in Temple Terrace, so it's a passion project for me a little bit. I like to say there's got to be motivation to some degree beyond the money for something like this, because you got to go through you got to run through a lot of doors to get there. Our vision of what will be at the end, beyond the field house and a successful Mosey, is certainly things that complement those, like hotel, retail, food and beverage. There'll be some residential components. We'd love to have Jennifer's district there because it's, medical node with all the hospitals in USF, but she may have a better place for it. I don't know. We'll talk.
More to come.
Fair enough. That part of it's still evolving. Clearly, there's what will be exactly is still evolving. But we're down the road a bit. Again, the county's been great to work with, and hopefully in the next 4 to 6 months we'll have better clarity on the specifics. But to touch on what others have touched on, the infrastructure issues, the neighborhoods around that we're reaching out to now with Sally's help, have concerns, especially about traffic. And one neighborhood in particular was, you're not tearing down Mosey, are you? No, we're not tearing down Mosey, we're making it better. Well, you're tearing down the building that used to be Mosey. Well, that's true for the field house, but it's complicated. But there's a lot of things behind advancing these things forward, like we don't need more of these things. And that's a hard thing to sift your way through. But it's iterative, and we're committed. So hopefully pretty soon we'll have something that we can share in a more specific way.
My question is, what did you do with all the cans that were in that dinosaur out front? Because I always wondered.
We're recycling them.
Oh, good, okay.
Actually, they're still there.
Recyclosaurus,
yeah,
right?
Recyclosaurus is still there. I don't know if that's going to be the
Senator
face
Brandis,
of...
you wanted to add?
Yeah, look, I think you've heard today a lot about the top of the market from this panel, but we have not heard about is the bottom of the market. We haven't heard about what does the city of Tampa, other than the mayor say we're building 8,000 units, that's great, that's not even vapor in the bucket for what you need. And the simple question is, how do we address the bottom of the market in this market where everybody wants to go to where the money is, at the top of the market, and deal with your employees who are not the doctors that you're bringing in and these life science professionals, but the people that clean the hospital rooms and are your orderlies and all of these other places that literally can't find housing anywhere in Florida. Right? So the way that we deal with this right now is called drive till you qualify. You get in your car and you drive until you can qualify for a mortgage, or you drive until you can afford rent. That is not sustainable. And so if Tampa and Hillsborough is going to survive whatever's coming next, we have to focus on the bottom of the market. There's a great book by a gentleman by the name Clay Christensen called The Innovator's Dilemma. I'm sure some of you have read it. And what he talks about is people consistently want to, businesses do this all the time. They want to continue to go up market, and they forget about the bottom of the market. And where does that innovation happen? It happens at the bottom of the market. And so as we think about all of this wonderful stuff that we're going to be doing in the future, let's figure out how in Hillsborough we can start getting smaller lot sizes, because land cost is the reason we can't have affordable housing. How do we allow for lot splits? How do we do simple things? Like the lowest hanging fruit in affordable housing is accessory dwelling units. And Tampa will torture you on the rack if you try to build one of those on your house right now. So it's the simple things that we have to get right in this community to allow lower cost housing if we want to move forward. And if we don't do that, all of this stuff is wonderful, and I'm hoping it succeeds. But if we forget about the bottom of the market, we come top heavy and we fail. We fail.
And that's an issue on which Tampa doesn't have to lead. There are so many examples of cities that I think you could say are more culturally or politically conservative or more progressive on the other side that are doing these things. I mean, Montana has been one of the most incredible leaders on housing deregulation in the entire United States, Montana. And there are things that are proven strategies. You need 4 votes to do it. And I think you need to have people really sort of clamoring for those simpler things, because the amount of time it takes, and everyone on the stage has seen this, between the idea of building some type of housing development, no matter what end of the market it is, by the time you have the idea, and then by the time you break ground, then by the time you ribbon cut, and then by the time you try to stabilize the asset, you've missed 4 capital market cycles. I mean, it's gambling. It's gambling. Compressing those time frames is something that the government has the power to do, because we choose to ration all this stuff. We say you have to have, no more than 10,000 square foot lots. Like, that's crazy in a place that's growing like this. But that's also a choice we've made. It's not some crazy consequence. Like, this is a regulatory choice, and if we want to change that, we know it can be changed because so many other places have done it.
I'm for the accessory dwelling unit because I want to put my mother-in-law in the backyard. So, oh, this is streaming, isn't it? Oh, well, she can't figure out the technology. We'll be okay. And I do want to recognize that TBAE is here. So, very good. Once the amendment passes, there'll be no more TBAE, so it's good to have him here this year. So really quickly, while I'm starting to look at these questions and see which ones I want to send to the panel, Senator, if you would, just again, we know the Save Our Homes, we've touched on it a little bit. It's Save Our Homes, but Andy Ross would say lose our libraries, lose our, not fill the potholes, anyhow. Just talk really quickly, and again, I would encourage you, again, we're going to have to make some decisions on this, but I think that Senator Brandes has been on the forefront of putting some ideas out there for people to think about going forward as we decide what we're going to do at the ballot.
So, in my estimation, this is not a tax cut, this is a tax shift, right? Ultimately, these counties have to survive, they have to provide resources to the community. And so what the first thing they're going to do is they're going to shift to non-ad valorem taxes, or they're going to raise millage. Those are the 2 key options that they have. And so there are scenarios, so non-ad valorem taxes show up on your bill. Counties can do it on a per parcel basis. They can do it on a square footage basis. It's kind of a no holds barred, no real rules on the non-ad valorem tax side. But it's not subject to any exemptions. So there are scenarios where somebody who's lived in their house for a long time can start getting hit with these non-ad valorem taxes, and they end up paying more in tax than they did under the old homestead provisions. Why? Because counties are going to shift their police and they're going to shift their firefighters, because it's their biggest cost, to non-ad valorem taxes. Maybe not Hillsborough, but a bunch of counties across Florida are going to do this. And this is the big challenge that we're going to see. The other thing that, and this kind of lays into our conversation, is why the hell would a city allow a $300,000 home to be built in their city? Because it's all cost, no benefit. Like, it is, for them, there is no benefit coming on a tax roll to the city. If they still have to provide police, they still have to provide firefighting service, they still have to provide other community services. And so what we've done here is remove all incentive for communities across Florida, not just in Hillsborough, but across Florida, to have low-end housing, right? The kind of starter home, first entry-level home product. It makes no sense for them to allow that development, because it only costs them going forward. There's a number of problems that this amendment creates, but the fact is it's going to be a huge shift in taxes. And while I think that this was originally sold as a tax cut, if you look deeper, what it really is a question of who's in control. Because what we have here is the governor, and the governor admitted this, he says, listen, we're going to have to create this trust fund because we are going to bankrupt some of the cities and counties. We know this is going to happen. So we need this trust fund for the state to allocate funds to them on an annual basis. Well, that means if Tallahassee is paying the bills, Tallahassee's making the rules, right? And ultimately, what this means is it's like my kids. Like, yeah, my kids get an allowance, but there's conditions that go along with that allowance. And so what we're doing is moving from independent cities and counties to dependent cities and counties, where Tallahassee will ultimately tell you what you have to charge. Because, for example, look, listen, if you are a small county, or if you're a county, and you say, well, we're not going to charge any taxes, and we're going to all pull from the trust fund. Well, Tallahassee's not going to let you do that. Tallahassee may come out and say, you must tax your community at the highest level, and if you still can't meet your basic services, then we'll put in money. Which means communities that are charging 4 mills today will go up to the max cap of 10 mills. And they can do that pretty simply, right? That's a county commission vote. And so ultimately what you're going to see is this is a tax cut, this is a tax shift, not a tax cut. This is a power grab. This is the largest challenge of home rule that we have ever seen in the history of Florida. There are 1,000 ways we could have done this better. This thing was done over the weekend. The Florida House put it out on Monday and voted on it that afternoon, right? And now we're just getting the analytics behind it. Like just Friday, they published what it costs. It was like the old Nancy Pelosi saying, we have to pass it so we know what's in it, right? The legislature was like, well, let's pass it, and then we'll figure out what it costs. There's a big difference between due diligence and finding out you're screwed post-closing.
Post-closing due diligence.
That's right. And that's where we are. We're starting to find out how screwed we are with this thing.
But do you have any strong opinions?
Those are on Twitter.
Yeah, I usually ask how much the car costs before I buy it. I don't know.
Yeah, normally.
Well, I appreciate that, and there's a lot to it. The one thing I will add to that is that this idea that they've designated core services, and I appreciate that. And all of my friends that are constitutional officers, we were thrown in there as core services by the Senate. Thank you. But all that doesn't guarantee funding for core services. All it says is that we are core services, and obviously fire, police are going to be funded before anybody, and they're not guaranteed to be funded under this scenario either. So they just, certain core services will get the first bite at the apple, but if you only have half the apple, you're going to have to find another half of the apple.
Well, that's the thing. Like you have to, people don't look at the county budget as a whole. Go to the general revenue section, where the general fund, because that's really what this is, what's addressed here. When you look at that, first of all, subtract out all debt, like all of their bonded debt, and then then subtract out their pension obligations, right? And then you say, all right, now what's the tax cut do?
Right.
Because those things have to be paid. Then you say, all right, what's the tax cut do? And then you're like, all right, what am I dealing with at the very end here? And what certain communities are saying is like, look, we can pay for certain things, but like once we pay for police and firefighter, we can't pay for anything else, if that's the case. So this is the untold story. And when you start hearing the governor talks about the state as a whole, Florida is not one state. It is 67 counties and 411 cities, and they all get hit differently with this provision. If you're Volusia County is 72% homesteaded. 72% homesteaded. Little Liberty County has 8,000 residents, and the average home value is $210,000. There is no revenue coming in from that side of their balance sheet. So it's going to be an interesting time. Good luck.
Yeah, I heard the Villages has over 90% homesteaded property.
Yeah.
They won't be able to paint the gazebo. All right. Gee whiz. And literally, we could go on and on with this, and maybe we'll have to have something like this with a panel at some point on this subject. But we have a number of questions. I will tell you, we just have a couple minutes left. We'll kind of go through as quickly as we can with the lightning round with a couple of these questions. We plan on archiving these questions and having a place on the website where folks can, if you asked a question and it wasn't chosen, I apologize. We're up against it. So the first question that I have here is, how do various transformational districts, you can read it up there, complement rather than compete with one another? And is there critical mass at some point? And it kind of feeds
Jennifer
into the
should take this
raise
one.
discussion as well.
Love to.
So just really quickly, if you guys 10 seconds. No.
Sure. So from the TMRD perspective, I think that the way that we collaborate is actually one of the best things about our city. I mean, coming into this role on my advisory committee who helps guide a lot of our strategy, I have multiple developers, everyone from Water Street to Daryl and Ebor to Andrew Wright. Like, we have many developers who all sit at the same table who are helping guide the strategy in one single discussion. I think what we're seeing happen from a healthcare and life sciences perspective and in partnership with the EDC is, as we're talking about to businesses on where to go and where to land their offices, one development or cluster is going to make more sense than others. And so we're very intentional that we might spread across 1,500 acres across the city, but there are very specific development nodes that have a focus. So whether you're in Ybor, it's going to be maybe innovation and tech focus with Palantir. If you're in downtown, that's a better fit for headquarters. And frankly, if you're manufacturing, you probably don't fit in our district. So what am I going to do is go to my counterpart at Sparrows and the Moffett team and say, what can we partner with you to help redirect some of the manufacturing facilities up to Pasco? So we're looking at it very much from a holistic lens and making sure that developers are at the table and asking them, what do you want? As we're talking to businesses, what makes sense for your development, and that they're part of that conversation. I think the beauty of the TMRD is we can be that kind of umbrella, convener, collaborator across multiple stakeholders.
Very good.
I would just add, I think competition is a healthy thing. And on the critical mass point, I think this is something that Jeff's had a common thread here. I think when the cafeteria worker at TGH lives within 5 blocks of a doctor, like that's the critical mass. And when you don't perceive boundaries between these districts and neighborhoods anymore, it's like a seamless whole. I think that's the critical mass.
Very good. I have to tell you, because we're up against it, some of these questions are awesome. This one, I have to put this one up there really quickly if we can address it, because I know Ron Weaver's in the audience, so this is for him. He probably asked it. A lot has been said about economic growth concerns, traffic, influx of population. What does the lack of public transportation options seem to not be, how does that not seem to be part of these conversations? So the albatross that's been here since I was 10 years old, can you address transportation?
I'm happy to talk about whoever asked that. We can talk outside. I mean, just because it was an absent maybe from this conversation, we packed a lot into it. I mean, it is the most critical thing. I mean, as the mayor talks about mass transit in Tampa is one person in a Tahoe. That's true, and we've sort of run out of cliches with which to describe it. The Achilles heel, the albatross, the anchor. It's a massive problem. We know there's political will for it. 57% of the county voted to tax themselves for a project that was half public transit. Got a bad Supreme Court decision. You got to keep trying. We have to find a funding source, whether city sales tax, whether you try a county surtax again. I do think the city and the county have very different transportation needs that are going to have to be funded, operated, built in very different ways. But it's critical. The idea that Tampa is going to thrive and be the one city in America that's thriving but has zero public transit is a silly dream. But you have to pay for it. Nice things cost money, and we got to figure out in which direction we summon the political will to do that. Seattle had 3 incredible public transportation investments passed by public referendum. That's because they tried 7 times. So we've had some losses. You got to keep trying. That's the only way to fix it.
Can I add maybe an alternative perspective to that? So I think that there is a common, we commonly lean into it's got to be solved at the public level, and it's going to move through government and has to be through taxes. I mean, look at what TGH and USF do privately, though. So we know that transportation is an issue. We know that we need to get our students and our researchers and our clinicians from point A to point B. So we're not waiting for that solution. Instead, we have our own fleet of shuttles that move throughout the city. And one of the things that we're looking at doing within the TMRD is how do we expand that in partnership, maybe with the downtown partnership, with others who are already doing it at the private level, knowing that more cars on the street is not the end game. That's not the final solution, but it could be an interim solution and something we could. And you look at other districts, Longwood Collective in Boston, they do that. They run shared services for the city. They run transportation for the city, and it's privately run, privately funded, and they're not waiting for a long-term solution.
Well,
very quickly.
You're so kind to say, like, I'm just going to disagree. Here's why. We're moving into the world of AI, right? Whether you guys whether the state wants to head in that direction or doesn't want to head in that direction, Waymo is already here in Tampa. They're probably going to be driver out later this year. Tesla Cybercab is testing in Miami right now. They'll probably be in Tampa in the next couple of years. And so we're actually, I think, going to be able to skip this hard problem. If we were going to start a light rail line today, it would take 20 years. And it would cost billions of dollars, and the eminent domain attorneys would make a small fortune on all of the takings that would have to go on throughout here.
All for it.
But we are emerging into a technology world where we will have the ability to have more, people are going to go from 3 cars to 2 cars to 1 car. And they're going to be able to buy a mile of transportation very inexpensively and it'll be a bundled mile. It'll include your car, it'll include the maintenance, it'll include the fuel, it'll include the servicing and cleaning, and frankly, it'll include the driver.
Right, but the Waymo can't get swallowed by a pothole. So like you still have to focus on the we still have to focus on
So
the service.
we'll leave it this. Hopefully, all those uninsured drivers can be replaced with the driverless cars.
They will.
And then the number that you didn't mention is that the rest of that statistic are that the rest of the drivers don't care about anybody else that's on the road. So, but they do know how to shoot a bird at somebody. So anyhow, I hate to say it, but we run out of time for this panel. I want to thank these folks. I think it was incredible. So if you'll, I appreciate you. What an incredible panel that was. None of this would be possible without our sponsors. Folks, we have Valley Bank, we have Smith & Associates, we have Florida West Coast Credit Union. They've saved my life more than once. GBH, Playbook Relations, CBRE, and Stewart. And if there's any other folks, I know there's been some other folks that have helped us out as well. We want to thank them. How many of you are on my website from time to time? I'm just kidding, right? I know every one of you should be. Whether you're in finance, insurance, real estate, the legal profession, or just stalking an ex, you're on there all the time. One of the first things that I did when I came into the office was to redo our website. One of the things that I think has been a calling card for our office is it's one of the best public-facing websites in the nation, and it's been something that we're very proud of. We are making some changes, keeping all of the functionality that you're familiar with, but adding a few things that I think you will really like. But we've got a quick video that kind of shows some of the things that we're going to institute with our website. So if you take a look at this, and then we'll move on. Thank you.
Hi, this is Bob Henriquez, your Hillsborough County property appraiser. I'm excited to give you a preview of upcoming improvements to our website. Our goal is to provide an enhanced website that will feature a simpler, more user-friendly experience with easier navigation centered around services residents use most, including property searches, exemptions, homestead filing, tax estimates, maps, downloads, and contact information. Property search tools will be easier to find and better connected to related resources like our property record cards, GIS mapping tools, and sales data. Our new GIS map experience will provide a more modern and interactive way for residents to search, explore, and better understand property information throughout Hillsborough County. We are also introducing an improved similar sales tool that allows homeowners, real estate professionals, and residents to view recent sales near a selected property, making market activity easier to understand. Notably, the website will expand public access to permitting data, helping residents better understand development activity, property improvements, and changes happening throughout the county. Perhaps the most exciting addition will be a first-of-its-kind data visualization lab, featuring interactive charts, dashboards, and maps that help explain property trends, neighborhood changes, values, permitting activity, and market conditions across Hillsborough County. The website will work better on phones and tablets, making property information more accessible from anywhere. In addition, the website will have improved bilingual language support. Our overall goal is simple: to provide more transparent information and data to the public and make it easier for residents to understand what's happening in their communities. We invite you to take a test drive, explore the new tools and features, and provide your feedback. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.